What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Burgundy Boss podcast. I am your Burgundy Boss, and here today with me, I have Section 330 podcast with me. How's it going today?
It's going good, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get into this here pretty quick. We're gonna look ahead at the Week 18 matchup of this, highly anticipated, highly exciting matchup between these two juggernauts and of the NFC East.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah,
This is going to be great.
yeah, I know it. So I always like to come on here and start off by asking guys, how did you become a fan of the New York Football Giants?
Well, it started when I was 4 years old, watching Super Bowl 21. Obviously off air, we were talking about, the 86 championship game. The first football game I ever saw was Super Bowl 21, watching Phil Simms pick apart the Denver Broncos. And, that was a local team. Ever since then, I became a big fan, which, before that, a couple months before, I became a Mets fan. So rare combination, Mets Giants fan,
Yeah.
which one of those teams won 3 championships. The other one, well, you were
You
you
know the
live in
history.
Kansas City, so you know what happened in 2015.
Yeah, yeah, definitely do. All right. So earlier in the week, we had it was actually after the games this weekend. Joe Judge had some comments, in the post game of their Bears matchup. How did it feel from like the Giants' perspective?
I got 3 words for that: dead man walking. That knows that his job, he's probably not going to have a job Monday morning.
Is so when he did that, is he trying to hype up the players? Is he trying to get on uh, the good side of the Maras? Is he trying to impress Dave Gettleman?
I think, honestly, it's just a man trying to save his job. He knows that his record is not too hot. He knows that, the team has been flat and unwatchable, for the vast majority of the season. So it was just basically just begging for his job. And he knows that most likely Monday morning he's going to go into the Giants facilities and he's going to see, I don't know, whoever replaces Dave Gettleman, because he's gone. He's going to see John Mara. And despite what the reports say of Mara, oh, well, he's going to be the coach next year, I think that he'll walk into the facilities Monday morning and he not have a job.
You feel the same way about Daniel Jones? Because I hear a lot that they're connected.
It's 50-50 for me. I think Daniel Jones this year has been injured. And when he's been playing, he hasn't been consistent enough. And, it's not like the Giants can go after a quarterback in this year's draft, because outside of Kenny Pickett, there's really nobody out there that is any good as far as like a first round talent. And I think that if they don't trade for Russell Wilson, which in my opinion is going to be a mistake because you're giving up picks for a 34-year-old quarterback, I think that he has another year.
Okay, yeah. And the other quarterback that was drafted by an NFC East team in that same draft, that 2019 draft, Daniel Snyder came off the yacht and made the pick and got his hometown boy, Dwayne Haskins, and you've seen how that's worked out. So
yes.
a lot of people, I know Washington fans that said, "Oh, well, Daniel Haskins, he's Black Dan Marino, and Daniel Jones is this Manning wannabe," and a lot of them said that well, Daniel Jones isn't going to make it as long as Dwayne Haskins does, and well, here we are.
I mean, isn't Haskins with the Steelers? Isn't he like on the Steelers practice squad or some practice squad?
Yeah, he's their third string.
Oof.
Yeah, he's behind Mason Rudolph.
Oof. I think, yeah. I think if he's one training camp cup cut away from going to the USFL, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I get Steeler fans that ask me all the time on Twitter. They're like, "Man, do you guys think that Haskins can be the quarterback of the future here in Pittsburgh?" And I just tell them, I'm like, "Listen, there's a reason that every mock draft right now, and take mock drafts for what they are, but every mock draft right now has Pittsburgh taking a quarterback in the first round, either a quarterback or an offensive lineman, one." And I think that's all dependent on what Big Ben does, and all indications are Big Ben is done.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
he's not going to get that send off on Monday Night Football against the Browns if he's not retiring. So,
right.
I think it's the Kenny next year begins the Kenny Pickett era in Pittsburgh.
Mm, that's bold.
Mm.
I like it though. I do. A Pittsburgh kid, University of Pitt, coming to Pittsburgh and taking over the reins.
Yep, got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, he sure does. Speaking of big shoes to fill, I want to talk about what has happened with the Giants this year to make them, fall kind of like they have. Because for me, at least, coming into the season, I was looking at it as division champs, being like, okay, we want to go capture this thing again. Who's our biggest competition? And all offseason, it looked like it was going to be the Giants.
Problem is just that we were sold the bill of goods with that 6-10 season. And you know what? Honestly, we got fooled because the division was bad. And, they did play in some close ball games last year, and they were a drop, Evan Ingram frustrating drop away from being division champs. But, they would have got ran in the first round by the Buccaneers regardless. But what happened this year was that, number one, inconsistent play, especially coming out of the offense. The offense has just been rendered unwatchable. They did go out in the offseason, and they got Kenny Golladay. They got Rudolph, the tight end with he used to be with the Vikings. But they really didn't do anything to improve that offensive line. And with, and I don't care what era of football you're in, whether it be back then with 3 yards and a cloud of dust, or, the more pass-friendly era of this, of this generation, games are won in the trenches. And the New York Giants, except for Andrew Thomas, the offensive line has been at best piss poor.
I got you. I want to speak a little bit more on that. Kenny Golladay, how did you feel when he was signed, and how are you feeling now?
I mean, this is not the offense for him. The Joe Judge offense is not for him. It's a vanilla offense. He obviously, Jason Garrett wasn't his coordinator. Then you bring in, then Freddie Kitchens replaces him. And yeah, Freddie Kitchens is a little bit more creative, but it's worse. And the fact is that you're not getting the ball to Golladay is a testament. I don't blame him for this year for that fact, but it's a testament to how the Giants offense has been ran. Now, if next year comes and the new head coach, whoever, or if Judge is allowed to bring in his own offensive coordinator, and it's still the same production, then you can say, yes, that was a mistake. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for this year.
Right on. And the next one I want to talk about was Kadarius Toney, kind of that same thing. Like, how did you feel when he was drafted? And then, I have a personal opinion on this because I'm a Florida Gator fan. So I told Washington, there was some rumbles that Washington might draft him. And I told all Washington fans, you do not want any part of Kadarius Toney. I promise you.
I just want to add, I'm a Miami Hurricane fan.
Ah.
No, but the part that upsets me about that pick wasn't that pick was made. It was trading back and passing up on a possible transcendent talent in Micah Parsons to get Golladay. I'm sorry, Toney. Toney has shown flashes of it, especially in that Dallas game when he had like 180 yards, but that was 45% of his yards this year. He's either been injured or he's been, you know, non-existent in the offense. And my thinking was, why would you draft a wide receiver when you have a bevy of them in Slayton and Sterling Shepard and you just signed Galladay? It was just like we didn't need a wide receiver, and we ended up getting the one guy that was projected to go late first round, maybe early second round, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, I could agree with that. You know, I was a little bit shocked when I seen that the Giants took Tony because he's exactly like every other receiver that the Giants have, you know. He's just like Sterling Shepard and, you know, Golden Tate was there and he's, you know, that same build and it's a bunch of like slot receivers in that offense. And so that's why I really like the Kenny Galladay move for you guys because, well, he has that potential to be a number one. But then you need like a number two as well.
Exactly. Like, you know, we have nobody can stay on the field. That's the problem. Sterling Shepard has not shown that he has the durability to last in the NFL. You know, when he's on the field, he's great, but that's when he's on the field. Darius Slayton is a number 3 at best. And then you got Tony, who I don't know what to make of him. So with that being said, it's just like, you know, it's the same, like you said, you're right. It is the same type of receiver. It is that slot receiver, that 6 feet, you know, that 6 feet and under type slot or flanker type that, you know, is gonna try and outrun you, but not great route runners and, you know, not very good possession receivers.
Yeah, and I know that because it's the same kind of receiver we have here in Washington. I mean, if you look up and down our receiver depth chart, we have one receiver that's over 6 foot. Cam Sims. Is he's the only receiver who's over 6 foot on our roster. I mean, even even when you look at like Terry's only 6 foot. You know, and
I
then
didn't realize that.
Yeah, and then you've got Curtis Samuel, you've got DeAndre Carter. We brought in Adam Humphries, you know, 5'10", 5'11". We even drafted Dax Milne out of BYU, Zach Wilson's guy. He, you know, supposedly he's going to step into the Adam Humphrey role next year, but that's all our receivers are just like that. They're the same like slot, like not going to beat you over the top, but like underneath, and that's our offense basically.
Yeah, it's like it's the same thing, you know. I don't know what Riverboat's doing over there, but you know, just you know, basically the same, except that you have an X factor. He's a talent. I'll say that.
Yeah, Terry's got me nervous because Terry's getting ready to go into the last year of his contract, and yeah, you know he's gonna want money.
Oh yeah, year 5 of that rookie deal.
Yeah,
creeping up, and you know, and he's gonna want to get paid.
Yeah, he's you know what and it's crazy because most of the Washington fans, we pretty much go 50-50 on every single subject, except for one. They say when it comes to Terry McLaurin, throw the checkbook at him. Doesn't matter. I mean, and that's universal.
I think, you know, the one thing is that the Washington has to get their quarterback situation figured out. I feel like if healthy, the Washington defense is a top 5 defense easily, especially with Chase Young. Chase Young is that X factor in that defense, and he's the difference maker. You know, if you have a guy like Chase Young healthy, you know, there's really no stopping, you know, that defense. And they're the Washington, whatever they're going to be called next year. I still call them the Redskins. You know, it's traditional for me.
Yeah.
Quarterback away from being a contender.
Yeah, and I've heard that a lot towards the end of the season here, that we're a quarterback away. But you know what the problem with that is? None of those high-end quarterbacks that are about to become available, None of them want to come here. You know, Russell Wilson has said that he wouldn't waive his no trade clause for here. Watson said he wouldn't waive his no trade clause. I mean, if those two aren't willing to, there's no way Rodgers will. You know, Rodgers hasn't even spoke on it, but I know he's not.
But it's going to be a challenge, and I think that whatever quarterback comes to Washington, to say that they led Washington back to relevancy, so to speak, or back to being a contender, that's one thing. That's like saying, hey, I led the Knicks to a championship. Because you know what? You've taken that challenge, with an owner who is just, I don't know, out of this world, much like the Knicks.
Yeah.
And you know what? And from what I've seen, DC is a Redskin town through and through.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's a Redskin town. And, the Capitals won the Cup, the Nationals won the World Series. But when the Redskins are good, it takes over that. Nothing else is relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, RFK used to be popping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That used to be the joint, It's where everybody would go and stadium be shaking.
You got Redskins playing, you got it's a whole atmosphere. And they moved to that stadium, which couple of years ago, I took my family out on a trip to DC, just to visit, the city. My daughter never seen the White House or none of that. My wife's never seen it. And we stood out in Landover, like around where the Capitol Center used to be.
Yeah.
And across the street is FedEx Field. And it's just like, it's nothing like RFK.
No.
Nothing.
No. And, I talk to people a lot about it. They're like, well, what's the difference between FedEx and RFK? And I tell them, I said, the biggest difference is most of the people that ask me that question are from here in Kansas City. And I said, it's like the difference between going to a game at Arrowhead and then a game at Kauffman, which is where the Royals play.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's the difference. Like Arrowhead, like you can hear it 3-4 miles away. It's so loud. And then Kauffman, like you can be standing on the highway and you won't hear anything.
It's, and it's a shame. And not only that, the stadium is 25 years old and it's falling apart.
Yeah.
Like,
don't even get me started on the stadium. Oh my goodness.
You guys deserve a lot better than that. You guys deserve so much better than having raw sewage fall on you guys and, and just overflowing urinals and taking 3 hours just to get out of the state. Oh man, it's
the crazy part about it is most of the time it's not us. Most of the time, it's mostly the opponent. It's mostly Giants fans or Eagles fans, Cowboys fans, whoever.
Because it's a nightmare to get to.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. At least RFK, it was easy. You had public transportation footsteps away. You had like 3 or 4 major highways, from what my understanding, to get in and out of the stadium. It wasn't, just 1 or 2 major highways and you got to go the lengths just to get to it's nuts.
Yeah. Well, all right, I'm gonna jump into the next part of this. So we talked a little bit about rookies, but tell me, who is your least impressive rookie on the Giants? And I'll give you mine.
The least impressive rookie. I kind of really don't have one. I would say, I don't know, because it's kind of early to tell. I like Ojulari, which is our linebacker from Georgia, but he has a very high motor, but he has to get to the quarterback more consistently for me to say, hey, that's that game changer. Tony, when he gets the ball, he can create, but the problem is just that he's not healthy. So I would say Tony, just because his durability.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be Tony, but I would, man, mine is hard too because it depends. Like, are you asking me who did I think is the least impressive from this year, or who do I think is going to be the least impressive in the long term? Because if you ask me this year, I'm gonna tell you, and every Washington fan will tell you, Jamin Davis.
Yeah.
And half the Washington fans will tell you we should have just taken JOK, and the other half will tell you no, we should have just traded up and drafted Micah Parsons. So, and that's a little bit of a stretch. That's what I tell those people. That's a little bit of a stretch now.
That is. I mean,
if you weren't willing to trade up from where we were up in that range to get Justin Fields or Mac Jones, what made you think that they would even think about trading up that far for a linebacker? Granted, he's a game-breaking linebacker, but a linebacker.
Exactly. Like, it wasn't a need at the time, at least not from what I saw. They needed a quarterback.
Yeah, still do.
They still, if you would have just traded up to get somebody like a Mac Jones or a Justin Fields, you guys have knocked it out of the park for like the last 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the guy I wanted too. Justin Fields was the one I wanted. A lot of people were telling me, no, you don't want Justin Fields because he's an Ohio State quarterback. Aren't you scared of Ohio State quarterbacks? And I have a fellow podcaster that I go on their show quite a bit. They're the Washington Football Addicts. And Steve on there, he'll tell you, I don't care if you draft 5 quarterbacks in the first round 5 years in a row. If you do that, and out of those 5 years you come away with a franchise quarterback, it was worth it. That's how invaluable, a franchise quarterback in this league is. Because we've been looking for one for 25 years.
Exactly.
There's not been a franchise quarterback in Washington in my fandom. I've been a fan since 2000. And that's insane.
That is, man. That is. And there's been opportunities.
Plenty.
Franchise guy. There's been opportunities for you guys to get that guy. The one person that I thought was going to be that guy for you was Ramsey. I honestly thought that Patrick Ramsey was going to be that guy. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've thought it a couple times. With Ramsey, I thought it. With Campbell, I thought it. But then really, I didn't think about it again until the RG days. Man, what RG did for us in 2012.
Exactly. And you know what? I put the blame on Shanahan for that because you got to know when your quarterback is on the floor, hurt. That means, come on, take him out. I don't care what the circumstances. Kid's a rookie, and you know what? That he got screwed out of his career.
Yeah.
But that injury just messed up his career, and all because Shanahan left him in the freaking game.
Yep. Yeah. You don't got to tell me twice.
I know that must have been frustrating. You got your guy, and that's RG3 slipped my mind, but he could have been a legend over there.
Yeah, and so back to the question. So I said Jamin Davis for this year, but if you're asking me long term, and you might be a little bit surprised by this, and other Washington fans will probably be surprised by this, but long term, the guy that scares me the most is Benjamin St-Juste, because he came out and he was on fire early in the season. Like he was playing, he was our best defensive back for the first 6 weeks. And these concussions that he's apparently had 3 this season, because he's been in and out of the concussion protocol 3 times just this season. And so that's why I put that up there, because with him already having 3 concussions, it gives me shades of Jordan Reed. Like, Jordan Reed was a lot like Tony, you know, like he was the best playmaker on the field when he was on the field. And that seemed to happen very rarely.
And I saw a video, I don't know who posted it on YouTube, but I saw a video talking about how Jordan Reed has been skittish. You know, early on in his career, he was he was a playmaker, and then he sustained all those concussions and, you know, all those injuries. And ever since then, he hasn't been the same player. And, you know, it's, you know, concussions are nothing to mess with, man. You know, especially nowadays, you know, with the CTE and all of this stuff, you know, it could really cost a guy his career. And I think they should take it easy with him. And, you know, if he's still showing signs, I wouldn't even ponder playing him.
Yeah, and that's one thing I kind of applaud Ron for too, is, you know, he noticed that he was back in the concussion protocol and they put him on IR and basically shelved him. So I applaud them for doing that, even, you know, knowing the potential that he showed, but still having the wherewithal to be able to say, this guy's still not right. We gotta go ahead and shelf him for the year. So there was that. My next question, and you kind of talked about this a little bit, but my next question was most impressive rookie for you.
Ojulari.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Ojulari that's a guy that the Giants need to build around as far as defense is concerned. Between him, you know, Dexter Lawrence and McKinney, those are the 3 guys that if you're going to build this defense, build it around them. Build it around those 3 guys. And Ojulari has shown flashes of brilliance all season long as far as getting to the quarterback. It's just that he needs to get to the quarterback more consistently. He needs to put pressure more consistently. And I think he is better suited to be on the defensive line than he is a linebacker, because once he gets home, he's impressive.
I agree. And, you know, he was one of those guys that was projected as a mid-first round pick, and he kind of just slid a little bit, and he seemed to fall to a team that knows how to use him.
Oh, yes. But, you know, as far as like, you know, the scheme, the Giants do not have the athletes on the edges, of the outside linebackers in the outside linebacker position to run a successful 3-4 defense. They don't. None of them can cover tight ends. None of them can get to the quarterback on a consistent basis. They need to switch to a traditional 4-3, or like you have like a ton of talent on the defensive ends with McKinney, with Love, with Bradbury. You know, you have guys like that have talent. You have to run just like the Giants did 10 years ago when they won the Super Bowl, the NASCAR package. So that way, you know what I mean? Like you have speed coming from you have speed to run, you know, coming from like the safety, from the safety position. And, you know, and if, you know, someone's open, you have the speed to make up for it.
Right. Yeah. You sound like me a few years ago. You know, when we drafted Kerrigan was not a 3-4 outside linebacker. I said, that's not a good fit for us. Like, he's a 4-3 defensive end. He is he's a dictionary definition of a 4-3 defensive end. And then they did the same thing with Brian Arakpo. He was also a 4-3 defensive end. And they tried to force him into that 3-4 outside linebacker role. I'm like, that's not what he is. Because half the time you're asking these guys to drop in coverage. And most of those guys that do that can't do that. You know, there's very rare guys like TJ Watt who can do it, you know, but my most impressive rookie, and you might not even know this guy, but who's our 5th round pick out of Boise State, John Bates. He's actually currently our starting tight end. And the thing, there was a lot of fans that were very down on this draft pick. They're like, who is this guy? He's not even on the list of tight ends that we're looking at, and blah blah blah. And Logan Paulson, who used to be a tight end here in Washington, he does a lot of tight end stuff and draft stuff related to tight ends. And I've seen interviews recently that he said when Washington was on the clock in the 5th round, he wasn't even on my board. I had no idea who he was. And he said, all I do is cover tight ends. And the thing about the kid is he's an underrated receiver because he only got through 15 balls his entire collegiate career. But that was not indicative of who he was as a pass catcher. That was more indicative of how good of a run blocker he was and is, because I had never seen this before, but we had a game earlier in the season. I forget who it was against. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember.
But we had against us.
Well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't against you guys because it was in the middle of the season. It was during that 4-game win streak. But it was one of those games, and he had like a 92, and PFF is whatever, but he had a 92 run blocking grade with PFF, and I was like, wow, as a tight end, I was like, wow, this kid can really block. Like he's far and away our best blocking tight end, and might be one of the best blockers on the entire team, if I'm being honest. And and he can catch too. You might have seen him. I don't know.
I'm vaguely familiar with him, but I'm going to check him out when I go to the game on Sunday. I'm going to keep an eye out for him, but you know what? He sounds like that Mark Bavaro type. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That guy that, not only can get you, a couple, can catch a couple balls and, run over guys, but also instrumental in the run game or in the pass game when he's blocking people, when he's putting people on their ass and, pancaking people, from the tight end position. And I think a successful offense needs that. They need that hybrid of a blocker and a receiver.
Right, that tight end H-back kind of guy.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and roll into the next section I've got, and it's players to watch. So give me, and not just any players, just give me like an underrated guy you've got for offense and defense on the Giants that Washington fans need to worry about.
An underrated guy that, to me is Devontae Booker. Devontae Booker has been the Giants. He's in the background with Barkley, but when Barkley was out, Devontae Booker he had a couple of impressive games. He's been our leading rusher for the year, has more yards than Barkley. And unlike Barkley, where if you notice he dances around looking for a hole, Devontae Booker hits those holes with conviction. And it leads to like 7, 8, 9-yard gains. And I wish he was implemented more in the offense, especially. And he's a pretty underrated receiver too. And I wish they would implement him more in the offense, as far as his catching ability and as far as, him getting 20 to 25 carries.
Yeah, I remember looking at him when he was coming out of school, out of Utah, and he was kind of looked at as a receiving-ish back who could do it all. And then seeing him do it in Denver, and a lot of people thought that he could be signed and be a feature back at one point.
Yeah, he has that ability to be a feature back. If he's really given the opportunity, if he's getting like 25, 30 carries a game, which I think 30 might be pushing it, he can get you like 3, maybe 4 yards a carry. He might get you like 10, 12 touchdowns a year. You know what I mean? He's that type of guy. He's that type of back that has that ability to get, to be the, number one on the depth chart. As far as defensively is concerned, the guy to watch out is Julian Love. Julian Love is, when he's on the field, it. The guy can, he's our defensive back. He can, he's pretty good on coverage, and he's pretty good in the zone. He's a pretty good zone safety. He has a few interceptions this year. I think he has a few sacks, you know what I mean? And this is a guy to watch out for, is Julian Love.
Okay. All right. For us, for offense, I mentioned this guy earlier, kind of slipped it out there. But our guy to watch on offense, and he's been sneaky good all year in parts, is DeAndre Carter. In the return game, he's been really good. Pro Bowl kick returner, punt returner.
Oh, yes.
But he's had to kind of step into that Curtis Samuel role, the role that they kind of had notched out for Curtis Samuel. He kind of had to step into it. They use him on a lot of the jet sweeps and the ghost routes, as they call them, but they'll put him in the slot and they'll have him run 30 yards downfield or whatever, and he'll make plays. He'll make tough catches, and so that's it for offense. On defense, man, I don't know, because every time I think I have a guy, a sleeper on defense, he disappoints me every time this year. I swear, But for me, my sleeper on defense this week, and he might not be a sleeper, but I'm going to throw him out there. I guess he's not as high in other people's minds as he is in the mind of Washington football fans, and his name is Cam Curl. Cam Curl is emerging as one of the better safeties in the NFL right now. Dallas Goedert still cooked us, but in that first Philly game, Dallas Goedert cooked us for about $180 and like 3 touches. And that was the one game that Cam Curl missed, and he was felt, because that's what he does. He might not take away your tight end, but he's going to limit him. And Cam Curl's the type of safety, he can cover a Christian McCaffrey or, a running back that's really good running routes, or he can, the tight end, he's really good against the tight ends. And so I think he's an underrated guy, probably not a sleeper, but just an underrated guy that nobody else thinks about as one of the top safeties in the NFL. So
it's a name I'm going to have to look out for, but Cam Curl did put the I think it was him who put the handcuffs on Evan Ingram, our first matchup. He's it's I'm gonna keep an eye out for him. I'm gonna keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, the thing I've noticed a lot too this year with Washington, their favorite thing to do is go to a 5-man front, use 5 defensive linemen, and then they'll use, in that same package, they'll use 3 safeties. So it'll be 5 defensive linemen, 3 safeties. And I've never seen anything like it before. Of course, now they've got Landon Collins basically playing exclusively at linebacker. They're just not calling him a linebacker to make Landon happy. So.
Yeah, but the thing is just that he has that talent. I've seen it here in New York. He has that talent in coverage. He does have that talent to get to the quarterback as far as, a linebacker is concerned, and it is fair to say that he has the ability to be a middle linebacker if need be. But, you guys are actually using him the right way. He wasn't used, that aside from that one season where he was all pro, I think it was 2016, the Giants didn't really know what to do with him. So him going to Washington really, first couple of years were rough, but I feel like this year revived his career because of that, because of, coaching telling him, hey, you know what, this is your position. I know you don't want to be classified as this, but this is your position. This is you're gonna you know, this is what you do. We're gonna use it to the best of your ability.
Yeah, and actually, they really didn't start using him until the second half of the season like
Mm,
that. So like last year they were using him exclusively as like a blitzing safety, and they did that quite a bit, and he was successful, but that was and then he ruptured his Achilles, and then that's when a lot of people really saw the emergence of Cam Curl. And then coming into this season, it was kind of the same thing. They were kind of going to try to use him as a blitzing safety. But then you throw in Bobby McCain, who was new, and it caused a lot of busted coverages on the back end, which is why we had a lot like the Darius Slayton play. That's why that happened because,
mhm.
Bobby McCain was still working into the defense, and Landon's really not a middle of the field free safety. So, and they were asking him to do it a lot early in the season. But I love the role they have him in right now because, like you said, it is perfect for his ability. It gives him and puts him in a position to make a play on every single play.
Oh yes.
And I mean, like he's a monster when it comes to stopping these outside runs. That's his specialty right now is just and when he's not out there, like he missed a couple weeks ago, he had like a calf injury and he missed and we got ran all over that week and because his presence is felt when he's not there, believe it or not. A lot of Washington fans coming into the year wanted him gone. Said we need to just trade him, we got to cut him, like we just got to get rid of him. He's not helping us. And I mean, you just had to give it time. And Ron found the right way to use him, and that's where they've got him at now. And he seems to be succeeding in that role. So
Yeah, and I've always rooted for him, even though like certain Giant fans like Odell, they turn their back on him. And you know what? I was like, you know what? Yeah, he's on a division rival, but wish the guy all the best. And he's still a pretty damn good football player. You know, he's a monster, especially when it comes down to getting to the quarterback or when he's in coverage or you know what I mean? Like he flies all over the ball. Albeit he's not that guy that is going to play center field and be like, hey, you know what? Just trail the quarterback. He's not that type of guy. But you know what? The guy, he's like almost like that Troy Polamalu type or that Ed Reed type. That you know what I mean? Like he's a ball hawk.
right now, I tell a lot of people here, they used to use him like, and kind of still do, Tyrann Mathieu. They just kind of let him roam around and find out where he wants to be and just let him make a play. Let him be an athlete, a football player.
Yes, and that's what you need for a guy like that. That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Just be a football player.
Right. All right. So I got 2 parts left, okay? 2 more.
All right.
So next part is prediction. What is your prediction for this one? No hard feelings.
Oh man. Well, there's gonna be plenty of hard feelings with Giants fans. Well,
I know.
see this coming. I'm gonna say Washington 27, the Giants 9.
Wow.
Why are we gonna score 9 points? Because we have Jake Fromm as our quarterback. And it's the fact is that we don't have an NFL caliber backup or an NFL caliber third string is just mind numbing. And you know what? From what I saw in that Eagle game, I have no confidence in him. Yeah, he'll get us like into the red zone a couple times. He'll overthrow a wide open Darius Slayton or just throw into double coverage and almost get in something like that. And Graham Gano, who I think is our offensive MVP, will kick a couple field goals and and the Giants defense will be on the field for too long and Tyler Heinicke end up picking us apart in the second half. So 27-9 Washington.
Okay. Well, that did kind of surprise me a little bit there. But I'm going to have a not so similar prediction because if there's one thing that's true about the NFC East, it's that every division match is a dogfight regardless of who's playing.
Oh, yes.
Unless we're playing the Cowboys and then we get beat 56-14. Sorry, got a little emotional there. No, it's family business though. Family business, and sometimes you get taken out back.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what happened. But my prediction for this one is a little bit closer than yours. But I'm gonna predict Washington wins 20-10.
Wow, you got to score in a touchdown.
Yep, touchdown and a field goal.
We're
good. We're good for either one busted coverage or a bunch of missed tackles and a 86-yard Saquon Barkley touchdown.
Yeah, did the second string defense come in and did Jake Fromm? Was there another busted coverage and Jake Fromm just? That's my thing.
Yeah.
That's how we get our touchdown because we haven't seen the end zone in like 2 weeks.
Do you know, and Washington fans get so mad at me when I say stuff like this, but that is the type of stuff that irritates me so much about Taylor Heinicke because I cannot tell you how many times this season I have seen Terry beat Trayvon Diggs or whoever off the line, have him beat by 5-10 yards, and Terry's got to come 5 yards back to make a contested catch because Taylor's arm couldn't get the ball there. Yeah. So I've been telling my fans all year long, I don't care who we draft as long as he's got a strong enough arm to get Terry the ball.
Oh, yes.
I am sick and tired of seeing that.
Wide open and then you're underthrowing it. Yeah, that sounds like a very Mike Glennon thing to do.
Yeah. Never fails.
Yeah.
And fans wonder why Terry leads the league in contested catches by like 10. And that's why, because those are the only kind of catches he could make. Because nobody can throw him the ball where he's open. He's got to come back and make some strange catch like that.
You got to wrestle away from the defender.
Yeah.
Or defender in his face and you catch
or like, I don't know if you saw this, but that catch week 1 he made against the Chargers on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
That was ridiculous.
You got a receiver in McLaurin there, man.
And the crazy part is the only reason we have him is because of Dwayne Haskins.
Yep.
That is the part like
State. Yep.
Yep, they asked Dwayne. He said, "Hey, pick one receiver you can have." He said, "Oh, give me Terry McLaurin." Really? Terry? Not Paris? That's who I thought. I was like, okay, let's go get Paris Campbell. But nope, it was not. So we're in week 18 here. It's the last week of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
A new week for the NFL. We're out of the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are out of the playoffs.
We're way out of the playoffs.
So with that being said, give me like 2 or 3 draft prospects you want the Giants to target in round 1.
If we could trade up for Hutchinson, the edge rusher out of Michigan, it would be ecstatic because we need an edge rusher bad. And I don't care what happened in that Orange Bowl. I want Aiden Hutchinson. Now we have two. We also have the Bears' first round pick because they traded us, they traded it for Justin Fields. I want Tyler Lindenbaum. That's 2 guys that if we could somehow get those 2 guys, either him or Neal. The offense, I think he's a guard from
he's a tackle, yeah.
Tackle from Alabama.
Yeah, he's a stud.
One of those 2 guys. Or 2 of those 3 in the first round, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I'm just getting ready to start all my draft stuff. I told all my people that I'm gonna start with quarterback and just work my way through. And so I just started, doing a bunch of my draft stuff, and of course I started with quarterback because why not? Get all that tape out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so but
I mean,
and
if you
I've the
guys, I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. No, no. If you guys can somehow get that kid from North Carolina, I forget his name.
Sam Howell.
If you guys can get Sam Howell, in day one, that would be a steal for you guys. Because as a Miami fan, I see North Carolina quite a bit, and Howell, he passes the eye test as far as like what a solid NFL quarterback should be. And if you guys can get Sam Howell, that would be solid for you guys.
And everybody's favorite thing is pro comps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the big and possibly most accurate pro comp I've heard for Aiden Hutchinson so far, I don't know about you, but is JJ Watt. He's kind of this bigger 4-3 defensive end who can slide inside, and he's just really good at getting to the quarterback and blowing up every single play.
It's a very interesting pro comp.
Yeah.
If he can, if somehow the Giants can get to, if he slips down, do not Micah Parsons him and then trade. Let like a team like the Jets get him. They'll trade their Seattle pick, to the Jets, and you know what I mean. And no, I want, if he's there at number 5 or number 4, get him, whoever the GM may be.
I don't see him going any lower than 3.
I don't think so either. But
I mean, I think the top 3 are going to be some combination of Hutchinson, Thibodeau, and Neal. I think those are your top 3. And if you want one of those guys, you're going to have to trade up to get him.
Oh, yes. Especially for Thibodeau. I think Thibodeau is by far the best edge rusher in that draft. Him
and Hutchinson are really kind of, for me at least, they're 1A, 1B, You want, it depends on what you want. Do you want the 4-3 defensive end who can also slide inside, or do you want the 4-3 defensive end who can also stand up? Depends on what you need.
Yeah, I think the ones that can slide inside, I think, that could rotate a little bit. I think that's what we need. That Justin Tuck OC type, defensive lineman that, that can, that can play defensive tackle, defensive end, and still produce. That's what we need. Definitely.
Well, for my 2 draft prospects, kind of stole one from me. So, the 2 quarterbacks I love this year, and one of them is a much bigger project than the other one. But for whatever reason, and maybe it's the small hands, maybe it's the gloves, I don't know. I am just not, and maybe it's his ego, because he seems to have an ego. But the guy I really just cannot get on board with is Kenny Pickett. Something about him just irks me. And I'm just like, I get bad vibes. Bad vibes. I don't want him. He might be the best quarterback in this draft. That's possible.
Oh, he definitely is going to be taken in the first round. But
oh yeah, no, he's going to be the first quarterback off the board. But
yes,
I don't know. It's something about him that I just don't like.
He does have that Brett Favre, cockiness to him.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. When we played Pitt this year, you know what I mean? Like, there was a couple times where I wanted the Miami defense to knock him on his ass, and especially when he did that fake slide in the
fake slide
game. It was just like,
yeah, the fake slide, man. I thought that was low, really. I mean, because it's designed to save you and help you and keep you safe, and you're gonna abuse it and use it to your advantage. But that's another conversation. I'm not a Corral fan either. That's what's crazy, is I think he's too little. He
I like
stands about.
Matt. I like him. I like him. You know.
And you know what? I probably have. There's probably a little bit of inside. And if you didn't know this, I'm gonna fill you in. He used to be a Florida Gator. He committed to Florida and was there for half a semester, and then he sat behind Emory Jones, and then transferred.
Mm.
And so maybe that's part of it, you know. But he's 6'2", 205. There aren't too many 200-pound quarterbacks that survive at the pro level because he doesn't have the athleticism that a Lamar Jackson or a Kyler Murray have.
But he could be that Mac Jones type pocket passer that can, you know, if given the right circumstance and given the right offensive line, he could really excel.
Yeah, I definitely see your points for him.
Yep.
So the two guys that I like the most in this draft are Malik Willis, who that's the guy I was talking about is a much bigger project than the other because he is. There's a reason he didn't cut it in the SEC and he had to go to Liberty, you know, to get a starting quarterback job. And the other guy, you mentioned him earlier, is Sam Howell. I love Sam Howell. And everybody wants to throw the pro comparison of Baker Mayfield out there, but I disagree.
No, I don't think he's a Baker Mayfield type. I'm sorry, he's not. He's more of, let's see, he's more, I would say, of what can I don't know why I'm drawing blanks here. He's more of that almost like that Matt Stafford type. I would say is a more fair comparison for Sam Howell than Baker Mayfield.
Well, this is what I tell people when they ask. I tell them Baker Mayfield is not a good comparison, especially if you look at this year, because he showed an entire new repertoire in his arsenal in that rushing attack that he showed this year. Mm-hmm. No way Baker is ever going to be the rusher that Sam Howell is right now.
Oh, no. No, he doesn't have that ability, Baker Mayfield. You know, Sam Howell, I remember last year when Miami got ran over for about like 400 rushing yards. Sam Howell had 100 of them out of that 400.
Yeah, and you know, everybody wants to say that Sam Howell is Baker, and we talked about, you know, how that's not a good comparison.
And I think that Howell has a better arm than Baker Mayfield.
I don't think he's as accurate as Baker is, because Baker's got pinpoint accuracy, but I think you're right too. I think Sam Howell has a much stronger arm.
Oh, he does. He can sling it like at, 30, 40 yards if he wanted to. You know, it's just the accuracy. That's something that could be worked on, given the right circumstance, given the right coaching. They could work on that, but hopefully it's with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I seen a mock draft earlier this week that had Washington taking Desmond Ridder with the number 9 overall pick. And I could only think to myself, who in the world did this? Because there is no way Desmond Ridder is going in the top 15, let alone the top 10.
No, he's not. No, Desmond Ridder is not that type of guy. Unless he has a kick-ass combine, even then, be a late first-round pick.
Yeah, or second.
Mm-hmm. Early second.
And I feel the same way about Carson Strong, too, who's the quarterback out of Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You'll like this. My pro comparison for Carson Strong is Carson Wentz.
Ooh.
I mean, both big, tall, strong pocket quarterbacks with this strange ability to escape any sack, regardless of where it comes from or how fast it is. It's this strange ability that guys named Carson have been given.
Yeah, that's true. And Carson Wentz before the ACL injury was just like he was that type of quarterback, and you know what I mean, like that. Just that inevitable, elusive type quarterback that can't get him down, and when he's up, he's bam, bam. He got your defense for like 20, 25-yard passes.
Right, exactly. Oh boy, this has been fun.
Oh yes.
I don't know about you, but I was already thinking about doing a post game show like this.
Yeah, I'll be at the Giant game. I'll be at the Giant Washington game. Maybe I'll, if I'm not too tired from tailgating or yelling at the field or yelling at the owner's box, telling Mara to get his crap together. Yeah, I'll hop on.
Yeah, I mean, I normally wait next day. I always have to wait next day. Being a Washington fan, I gotta let my temper go down a little bit. Gotta
yes.
Gotta simmer down a little bit. So
yes, definitely.
Yeah, that's all there is to it.
It's so, just, especially when you pay like thousands of dollars for PSLs and on top of thousands of dollars for season tickets, and this is the product that you get.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know, yeah.
And then management says, hey, let's give these guys a free soda.
Hat and a t-shirt. That's what we get. A hat and a t-shirt.
A hat and a t-shirt. Yeah. We tried.
Yeah.
Not even a championship one. We tried.
Yeah. And can't wait to see you back next year.
Yes. Where we can grab more of your money and we can go 5-13 instead of 5-12 instead of 4-13.
Yeah. So we talked.
Let's go ahead, man. Sorry.
We talked a little bit earlier about Joe Judge talking, and you said he's trying to save his job. If you had your pick of available future head coaches, who would you want?
Eric Bieniemy.
No conversation at all. Just Eric Bieniemy. That's it.
Eric Bieniemy. He's, and he's the offense. He's the offensive mind in that Kansas City offense. We need an offensive-minded coach, and I think that Eric Bieniemy would be that guy. You leave Patrick Graham in that defense, and if I had the choice, if I were the new Giants GM, Eric Bieniemy would be my head coach.
You don't have any fear of Eric Bieniemy just being a name and a face, kind of like Matt Nagy?
No, I don't have that fear. He can't do no worse than Joe Judge. He can't do no worse than Pat Shurmur. He definitely can't do no worse than Ben McAdoo.
Yeah, I know the feeling. This is the first. This is the first head coach we've ever had that was like. I guess you could put Shanahan out there, but between him, Shanahan, and Gibbs, those are the only head coaches that we've ever had that I had any actual confidence in. I would say the least confident guy that we've had was Zorn. I hated him from day one.
It's a funny thing about Zorn because when he first got introduced, he didn't know the Redskin colors.
Yeah, that's a big deal around here.
That the first thing, because I was listening to Mark Malusis, who is a radio host for WFAN. He's a big Washington fan.
Yeah.
He's like, I just got onto the internet and I couldn't believe that Jim Zorn didn't know the colors of the Redskins. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
You guys got a winner there.
Yeah, that That was not fun at all.
No.
The last 25 years haven't been very fun.
Oh no.
You know, there's a guy who started a podcast. He actually started that Washington Football Addicts podcast I was telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
He started it, and he's been a fan. He lives actually out by me. He lives right on the other side of Kansas from me. And he got so frustrated this past season. About halfway through the season, he gave away the rights to his podcast and everything to a couple of his buddies. And then I watched him burn all his Washington stuff. This was after the Denver game for us, where Denver beat us.
Brutal.
Yeah, it was the start of that. We were 2-4, and he came and he told me, he goes, "I'm getting rid of all my Washington stuff. I don't want it anymore. I can't handle it." He had a mental breakdown essentially, and I thought he was kidding the whole time. I was like, "You're joking? Like, come on, stop playing." And actually, he showed me his NFL.com order, and he had ordered just like $400 worth of Raiders gear. And
really?
Yeah, and so he had just, that was it. That was the last straw. You know, I'm jumping ship. I'm a Raiders fan. I was baffled. I could not believe it. And shout out to Rod, man, for toughing it out.
Stick with your team through and through. You know, like, forget all that. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna going from like the Redskins to the Raiders is like going from eating at Outback Steakhouse to eating at, I don't know, like the country buffet.
I mean, I said they're essentially the same team.
Exactly.
The Raiders are Washington of the AFC. I mean, when's the last time they had a franchise quarterback before Derek Carr? I mean,
when was
Gannon?
The last time they were in any type of relevancy?
Right.
Good 15, 16 years without making it to the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, so and then on top of that, Washington marched right in the Death Star and beat the Vegas Raiders during this year. So that was kind of salt on the wound there.
Oof.
For him, yeah.
Talk about unlucky, though.
Did you guys beat Vegas?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, our whole division beat Vegas, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Except for the Cowboys.
On Thanksgiving.
Yep, I will never forget that.
That definitely made my Thanksgiving.
You know, and I need your opinion on something. I have some Washington people that are on my timeline that are driving me nuts right now because and you'll understand this. They have told me that Micah Parsons is who Chase Young was supposed to be. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
That's not a fair comparison, being that Chase Young is in his second season, albeit he's injured. But, you know, and these are two different types of players. You know what I mean? Chase Young is a guy that is a pure pass rusher. Meanwhile, Micah Parsons is a guy that is a Swiss Army knife. You know what I mean? It is not a fair comparison. You know, watch Chase Young dominate next year, and a lot of the Washington fans will sing a different tune.
I definitely agree. Now, okay, do you like the LT comparisons for Micah Parsons?
No.
I didn't figure you did.
You know, every defensive player that is great gets the LT comparisons, whether it be J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, now Micah Parsons. I mean, he has a good chance of winning Defensive Player of the Year and Rookie of the Year in the same, you know, just much like LT did in 81. But give the kid another 5 or 6 years before you start the LT comparisons.
Right, yeah. Let's see what he actually is.
Exactly.
Because nobody knew how to prepare for him this year, but come next year we're gonna know how to prepare for him, how we can block him.
And that's the one thing, and I think it was Bill Parcells who said this, like, eventually the tape will catch up to you. You know?
Always does. Ask
Always
RG3.
does. Exactly. Like, there is tape on every player, and eventually it will catch up to you. And you know what? It's now teams are going to start adjusting to them. It's up to the player whether they could adjust to those adjustments.
I agree. I think that's going to do it for us here tonight. Section 330. It was nice to have you on tonight.
It was a pleasure to be here, man. Looking forward to the next time.
Yeah, no problem. There will definitely be a next time.
All right.
All right, and this is your Burgundy Boss. Don't forget, you can find this on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, Burgundy Boss Podcast on YouTube. Hit us up on Twitter. Go ahead and tell them what your Twitter is.
My Twitter is at Section 330 or SEC 330 Podcast. And I'm going to be having a Facebook page soon, so be on the lookout for that.
And don't forget to check it out on Spotify and Apple Podcast as well. Until next time, this is your Burgundy Boss. We are out.